a little bit nervous. So it's the first time I've done this, so if it goes horribly wrong, I was told to do an interpretive dance. It's probably not a good option either. I am Benedict Redgrove. I'm a photographer, and I shoot sort of commercial campaigns and for companies like Audi and HP, BMW, IBM, anyone with an acronym really. So if you've got an acronym, I am your man. And American Airlines, although that's not an AA, so it still works. There we go. And I shoot editorial pieces for magazines like Wired and Wallpaper. I'm just shooting. It's a bit bleached out, isn't it? It's a bit shit. I promise it's not. I've been shooting a project with NASA for the past 5 years. Well, it took 5 years to start. And then we took the first shot last year. And we've got another 2 and a bit years to run. So it's a 9-year project. I'm always fast with my projects. I have to really be at the cutting edge of everything. And so a short-term project, that one. This is Wired magazine is showing a little kind of sneak peek of it. They're doing actually a big thing. They're doing a 16-page special, which is coming out on October the 6th. So Wired, go and buy it, please. I guess I'm probably more known for the sort of things or the stuff or the style of shots rather than what it is that I shoot. So I don't really shoot people so much, or I started shooting people, and I don't really shoot just one thing, sort of still life. I tend to shoot quite big, grand things, and it's more the sort of composition, I think, which is kind of quite calm and quite clean and graphic. My background for the first part of my career was graphic design. So I left art college and worked for a couple of graphic design companies outside of London, which does exist. I was a typographer. See, there's a man. He's from outside. And you were from Liverpool as well, so that's 2 of you. So I worked there. I was a typographer and graphic designer for a couple of years. And I think my thing is I had real issues at school. I had real problems learning, dyslexia, and sort of just couldn't understand why things were the way they were. So I think there's a whole thing of, if there's order, then I get it. And that's why my images are kind of quite straight and composed, and very structured, really. And calm, I think that's another thing. I'm quite a calm person. So I think a lot of people's work, or their character comes out in their work. So no cocks or tits in my presentation. Although there will be some balls later on, so lots of bouncing balls, which is, you will enjoy those. Green, but there. Anyway, it's my background is maybe a sort of huge fan of utilitarian design and utilitarianism as a sort of ethos, really. And I think that whole thing of functionality, form following function, the whole belief that something will look beautiful because it serves a purpose. That's what I really, really love. So things like jet engines and bits of jet engine, this has got everything in here has got a purpose. There's a reason why it's made out of the materials it's made out of. There's a reason why that sits in that blade at a certain angle. And it's all there to do a certain job. And that really appeals to me massively. There's a real nerdy geek part of me that goes, yes, I love this stuff. So, and that, luckily, a lot of commercial clients see that, and Boeing and Lockheed and people, they go, you are a total knob and geek. Come and work for us because you love the same stuff that we do. And I had a conversation with someone from Boeing the other day just going, we're so excited that you're coming to take our pictures. And I was like, so am I, we're all really excited. So we're just sort of big geek off about bits of titanium that they're growing and stuff. But yeah, so really sort of utilitarianism, it's all that sort of idea that, something has a purpose. It's beautiful because it has a purpose and it's designed for certain things. So, this sort of thing, or a Land Rover or whatever, they're all really good because they're designed, they look great, and they work. And there's nothing superfluous about it. Whereas something like a Philips Stark, juicer, which looks great, but you do it and it's utterly rubbish. Useless. Looks good, but useless. Sort of Kim Kardashian kind of principle. So, anyway, I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to talk about how to make a tennis ball. So I started making films a couple of years ago, just as a sort of, it's like a sort of extra of what I was doing really. So it's like a sort of photography next stage almost. And I really enjoy the process. I love how it works. I made this film. Me and my assistant went off, and we went and made this film. So I'll show you the film, just in case you haven't seen it. Otherwise, you'll be wondering what the hell I'm talking about. And then I'll talk some more with my voice will hopefully have calmed down. Stop sounding like a 10-year-old. Twat. Right. Thank you. That's a lovely, lovely reaction. So the film was commissioned by ESPN. They contacted my agent in America, and they wanted a set of images of how to make a tennis ball for the US Open. So we would just shoot a load of stills of each process, and then make some GIFs or GIFs, whatever they're pronounced. So me and Andy my assistant Andy flew to Thailand. We've been working for about 5 years together, me and Andy. He looks like me a little bit, which is a bit unnerving. So we get asked if we're brothers occasionally. On this time, though, we got asked Yeah. I'd gone to the loo, and I came back, and he's sitting there just pissing himself laughing. And I said, "What's up?" He said, "Stewardess, just asked me what my husband would like to drink." So, oh, that is a first. Okay. Yes. So we went over there, and we were shown around the factory in the morning. Wow, shit's going down out there. We were shown around the factory in the morning, and got a tour to show each process, so that we could work out how we're going to do it, what we want to spend most time on. Because invariably, when you go to these places, you're shown around the whole thing, and then you're sort of rushed into different bits. So if you're shooting something that, I don't know, NASA makes, like some sort of part for a jet, you want to shoot process before and after. So we were given the chance to say, okay, we'll focus on this and we'll focus on that, but we'll shoot every process. So we went through it process by process, and as we were doing that, I was realizing these GIFs, this is not really going to show the story, so screw the GIFs, we'll make a film. So we basically changed the whole process of what we did. We went around with a little Canon 5D, and it was the only way we could do it, really. And we started shooting, so we'd set up the shot, take that, Andy would check it's sharp and everything, and whether we needed to do any focus brackets, and then we'd start filming. So he'd give me a card, and I would start filming it. And we'd sort of talk to each other at first, and then as the time went on and we got hotter and hotter and hotter, and just starting to melt, and the sound, as you can hear from that, it was pretty loud in there. So we just communicated with a look. I would look at him, he'd say yes, and I'd look back, and then just get on. And you had to kind of find this kind of place just to disappear back into sort of being calm again, really. And you see a lot of those people actually in the factory. They just sort of do that woman that's turning the balls, like that sort of soporific kind of, and the other one that's working really fast. I think they all found their own places where they could just be nice and calm and do their job. So a lot of people say that there's, apart from the factory sound, they like that there's no soundtrack to it. There's no music. There's no voiceover saying, "Hey, gee, how do you make a tennis ball?" "Well, look, you get a piece of rubber and you shove some felt on it." So we thought, this is crap. That's not what you want. You want to keep it simple, and it's back to the utilitarian point that the simpler you can make something, the purer it is. And that process was very pure. Probably not in its material, but it's quite a pure way of showing something. So I just let the soundtrack do its thing. And we had no time. I mean, we did the whole thing. We shot the story and made the film in 4 hours. So there's not a lot of time to really, really think about what you're doing. I had to think about the composition. Is it working? Yes. Okay, let's shoot it. And we would do that. And we did, I don't know, 20 or 28 different processes, 24 different processes. And we're shooting stills there and trying to shoot a film section. And then trying to shoot a film section so you're showing a close-up and you're showing a wide. And all those processes that go through. So it's fast, thinking on your feet, and certainly not a calm way to work, but we tried to bring that to us. And the comments I get about it, like I say, it's just like, it's quite hypnotic. I think a lot of people say that. You can watch it and you sort of see this, people get lulled into it. In fact, Pat Cash, the tennis player, that's just the same thing to say on Facebook, so I was very excited about that. But yeah, I mean, this whole process, when we were shooting this glue, and not because it was glue, and I was like, but we were shooting this glue, and I got just totally lost in this. It was such a lovely thing, all these long white strands going through, just on and on. So yeah, I was a happy man for about 20 minutes, and then we had to usher on to the next bit. And this girl, which I don't know if you saw her in the film, but she's super quick, super speedy with her hands, and I asked her if she'd just sit there for a couple of minutes, and when she was sitting there, she was like, too eager to get back on with her work. And they weren't paid by piece, so it wasn't that really, but yeah, it was amazing to watch the different people there. And then the film really was just, we did it, it was finished, we came back, the client was happy with it. We'd sort of gone from a sort of 8-minute film down to they wanted it down to 3.5 minutes because they needed it to fit in with their schedule. So we'd kind of like it to be a little bit longer. But anyway, we filmed it, we did it, put it together, put it up online, put it to ESPN. And that was about a year and a bit ago, wasn't it? Something like that. And then It's Nice that picked it up and ran it, which was lovely. And it went from 5,000 people to, I think, 30 or 60,000 in a couple of hours. And I was like, wow, this is a bit nuts. And then the next day we woke up and it was 320,000 people. And so I just kept flicking on to Vimeo on my phone, just going, this is crazy. It's just going up and up and up. And just think that it was just getting higher and higher as it went on. More and more people around the world just watching. Power of your business, you see. So, and it just went up and up and up. And then within 3 days, it had gone from 5,000 to 1.4 million. So it's pretty cool. And we've been invited to a couple of film festivals as well. So it's a nice little thing, really. So, so really, I just wanted to say thank you for watching it. Thank you for seeing my work. And thank you to It's Nice That as well for inviting me along. And they've always been supportive of my work. So It's Nice That. Right on. Thank you.